What if I told you that every argument that you have ever had about politics, religion, or social issues was perfectly curated to keep us all divided and prevent us from really getting to the root cause and to an actual answer that can provide anything of substance? And what if the people that you're arguing with aren't actually your enemy? You've been played your entire life, and I am about to prove it.
Free your mind.
So by the end of this video, you will never see division and different viewpoints the same way ever again. I'm about to show you a pattern that appears in every major conflict, world event, and different stance in everyone's worldviews. They all underlie what is known as dialectics. They all serve dialectics and division. And for as long as we are divided within all of society, both inside of ourselves and between ourselves, we never will be able to come together, put aside our differences, and really get towards the root cause and fix the actual issues that are causing all suffering on this planet and preventing us from really finding a way to harmonise with each other and really get the things that we want, need, and require. So if you haven't already gathered, we are living under a great illusion. And this is fueled by not only a lack of knowledge, a lack of courage, of course, but most importantly, the division that is apparent within each and every one of us and outside of every one of us. As above, so below. It reflects accordingly. And if you haven't already gathered, the political situation in America, the whole Reform UK and immigration divide in the UK, the Charlie Kirk assassination, if things like that more recently haven't just shown you the absolute escalation of division and the just rampant of taking sides that people are ready to take and the craziness of some people, if that hasn't shown you how apparent division is in the current world, don't know what will, because we are not going to be able to find any solutions by immediately taking sides on any world problem. Things are so much more complicated. Things require discussion. They require nuance. They require putting down our differences and trying to come to a real solution. But instead, these polar opposite sides have been created for us to all take one side off, and then just absolutely smash into each other and just constant battle. And this is the theme of what I'm going to be expressing. For as long as there are two sides going against each other, we will never take a step back and look up to the top of that triangle, to what is controlling both sides and orchestrating you to do this, so that you never look up and realise that that one above is the enemy. This enemy is the ones that are keeping us in this great illusion. They are the puppet masters, and I'll speak about those shortly. But what I do want to say is that clearly division, schism, separation, it's apparent everywhere. In every new news story that comes up, in every tiny little social aspect and new problem that arises in society, there's almost always going to be, obviously there's people in the middle, a few, there's always going to be the polar opposites, and people, they trickle down from their other things. Their political views often trickle into their sexuality. They often trickle down into the way that they see things like immigration, stuff like that. You have this side, you have the other side, and it's perfectly stereotypical, and that doesn't come about naturally. It comes about from these sides being created, the dialectical opposites, as we'll see. They are used to keep us divided and keep us in these cages and not realise that the answer lies somewhere in the middle. Everyone has their label, their isms, and their favoured side on every tiny little thing now, and they're too happy to just quickly jump onto a new bandwagon, no matter what the evidence, and no matter what the subject. And so with every new little topic that is mentioned, people will immediately cling to a side just because it aligns with their other paradigms. And it just shows that they're so controlled, because you can predict how they're going to go. If they align with a certain political paradigm, left or right, they will trickle down into these other viewpoints. and it's engineered that way, as you'll come to see. There are far more examples than you could possibly even reel off, and some are more controversial, so I'm not going to start naming names. Many of them are polarizing, and many more of them are really binding down on you. Like I say, religion, politics, and all of the above, they all come together and prevent us from really uniting. They're controversial for a reason, polarizing because that's all it's about is division, fracturing. It is the age-old story of divide and conquer. Get the people divided, and they're too busy doing this to realise that there is a power above that is encroaching and tightening the chain on both sides. Both sides are orchestrated, a problem is created, a reaction, of course, follows, and then the solution that they prepared before any of that, it's riddled off as the solution that everyone takes. These are just some of the methodologies of how we are being controlled societally, and how it's a piece of cake when people understand the deep psychological nature of humans, whereas the average person has no clue. That playing field couldn't be any further apart, and for as long as that remains, it's a piece of cake to be able to control humanity. So just think for a moment, some of the different polar opposites that we have in life. Some of them I face too personally almost. You have the left and right in politics, of course. You have the pro-vaxxers, you have the anti-vaxxers, you have the pro-life and the pro-abortion people. You have the believers or the religionists, and then you have the atheists on the other side, acting as if there's no in-between. People ask me, are you a religionist or an atheist? I say, religion is the root of all evil, and I've discussed that in a previous episode. And then they immediately go, oh, so you're an atheist? I'm like, no, that is just a perfect example, and you can see that in your day and age. You can go and try it right now with anyone in your household or friends. They will immediately think, if you're not this, you must be this. You immediately jump from one to the other. There's no in-between. And that in-between, again, as we see in all aspects, outside and within, the truth lies in a synthesis of both. But instead, we have these perfect divisions, and you wonder why there are always two options. It's because it's being controlled. There are people controlling the game. There are ones above that aren't recognised by the general public to even exist, and they'll laugh at you for even pointing them out. And instead, they're making you the little pawns on the game that they'll easily just throw away and sacrifice, as long as they're protected in the back and, not even moving, just stepping back and watching the people fight between each other. You're the pawn in the game. In the game of divide and conquer, we are merely pawns. They are keeping us busy, fighting each other instead of fighting them. And only until we fight them and recognise them and have the knowledge that they have, we have no chance. They will squish us like a bug under a steel-toe boot. Our job is to realise the existence of these controllers and their methods of manipulation. And this is probably one of the most ancient ones of all. It's been used since the time of biblical times and before. Because until people recognise the methodologies, nothing will change. We must recognise it, and then we get our power back. Knowledge applied is power. So here we have probably the biggest technique of control of the masses that is used by the elites, the ones that truly are the hidden hand that rule us, and the people that you'll never know their names or their faces, that are behind all of the corporations, behind all of the politics, all of the governments, the real hidden hand, even beyond the bloodlines like the Rothschilds, beyond those. This is one of the top techniques that they use. And some refer to this as the dialectic or the Hegelian dialectic. Now, some people will put on the nerdy glasses and go, actually, Hegel didn't speak of the dialectic, he used different phrases. This is just the general term for it, because he did use different terminology for it. You can look into philosophical videos if you really want to get a deep dive on that. But the point is, many philosophers, even going back to ancient Greece, have spoke of this idea of a dialectic, where you have the thesis and you have the antithesis or the antithesis. the two opposing sides. You know, water is a solid. When it's ice, you have water as liquid. But then, of course, the point is to bring them to a synthesis, the midpoint, the combination of both. But the problem that comes about in philosophy, because this is just a more general term for what I'm talking about. In philosophy itself, it's more just the idea of trying to define things and try to come to answers with things. So you'd have the thesis, antithesis on the polar opposite scales, and you try and have the synthesis in between that is a combination of the both. But then, of course, that synthesis would have another antithesis, and it would go on and on and on and on. But what I'm suggesting this is as, when it's more put relevantly into the world in terms of controlling the masses. So this Hegelian dialectic, when used in terms of controlling the masses, instead of just used as a philosophical method, it is very simple, actually. There is a synthesis at the bottom. It's the thing that is their overarching control goal. There are many of them, things like digital ID, mass surveillance, one world government, poverty, a worldwide army. These almost, 1984, real tip of the iceberg kind of top of the tower goals, the final end games of all human freedom being removed, the integration with AI. That's the final endpoint that they want to achieve. But of course, if they just try to push that out immediately, most people with somewhat of a sense would immediately reject it. So not only do they have the totalitarian tiptoe, where they slowly do one thing after another, that's significant enough, but not so significant that the people recognise it and then backlash against it. Or at least if they do backlash, it's a bit of a protest, it's maybe some petitions or outrage on social media. But the outcome still comes about. And there are many examples of this. The Online Safety Act, for example, that's more recent. They create that, there's a bit of outrage, they start a petition and people try and fight against it, or maybe a protest at most. They'll laugh. They'll go, no, sorry, nah. Either way, Online Safety Act it starts there, and then it goes more and more and more and more. It's a tiny, tiny, tiny step into the same direction. It's like boiling the frog, of instead of just putting the heat right up, they're going to jump out because the water's hot. But instead, you tiny, 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 slowly turn up that water, and eventually it will get to boiling. But because he's been accustomed to the heat rising, he gets boiled alive. That is what's happening to us. It's this tiny tiptoe. And this is the main method that they use to bring us to these ends that they created. They not only create the thing that they want at the end, but they also often create the problem, more often than not. And then they create the reaction. And then, of course, the outcome of that reaction, the solution that the people want from that problem that they created, the solution that they offer is the solution that they wanted all along. They create the problem with the thesis. So 9/11, for example, they wait for the people's reaction of absolute outrage and trauma, and an event like that has many outcomes that were desired. All of them worked in their favour, and it's blatant to any semi-conscious person that event was very odd. And it wasn't just, some Arab hijackers that used box cutters and were just crazy and hated the infidels. That's what they wanted you to believe. And you can rip apart the whole story and the narrative and the physics of all of it. None of it makes sense. And there are way too many anomalies and aspects that just show it was a false flag, which is a whole different video. But they create that problem. So they orchestrate 9/11. They wait for the public reaction of trauma and horror, rightfully. That's the antithesis. And then in they come. They offer the solution that we came up with on the spot. Don't worry about it. We hear your outrage, and we understand this is a huge problem. Maybe this would work. When actually it was their plan to bring about that all along. This is how they work. And it's genius. It's simple, but it's genius. And it works like a charm. It works. And they use it again and again and again. And only a tiny, tiny minority are finally coming out and exposing it. But most people, they believe the official story, and there you go. COVID. Create a mass virus, which we won't even get into what the origins of that could be, but it's created nonetheless and engineered, released out into the public. Oh, it's scary, scary. Everyone's reacting. You don't want grandma to die, so we can offer this solution for you. Just get vaccinated. Just stay inside your house. Just get addicted to technology and to, food delivery services. They create the problem, the reaction is engineered, and then the solution that they offer was the solution that they wanted to bring about all along. This is, on its most basic level, this methodology, and it works swimmingly. And all it takes is for us to recognise it, and then it no longer works. And so there are many, many of these dialectics that play out, not only in world events, like I say, 9/11, things like that. They're the more just in the moment problem, reaction, solutions. But we actually have the overarching, larger dialectics that exist. Religion and atheism is the most annoying one to deal with, because the truth lies in the in-between. Understanding that there is a creator, but it's not just nothingness and randomness. Truth from that side, some truth from that side. The culmination of the middle is where the truth lies. And instead, the problem is religion is a trap. We had a whole video on that in the past. Atheism is just another trap and ultimately another religion. You have to be neither. You have to understand there's a creator, obviously, and you can discover that for yourself and define it yourself. There is one without a doubt, and it's not what we've been given through religion. And then understand all religions have some trickle of truth. We extract that, throw the junk away from the rest of them, and then keep on evolving and learning that way, instead of just getting your one religion, holding it as your dogmatic belief system, your one holy book that can't be questioned and can't be looked further into. It's all nonsense. And it's been perfectly set up for you, again, to keep you in a mind trap. But beyond religion and atheism, we have government and religion. It reflects in the hemispheres of the brain. We have the left brain, which I've discussed the whole brain hemisphere and triune brain in a previous video, so check that out. Government and religion. Government exists in the left brain, and it prevents the right brain, the caring, compassionate side of ourselves, prevents that from making any progress. It can create psychopathy, authoritarianism, the more dominant opposing force of someone to embody, a blind belief in authority, and even the idea to rule others, authoritarianism, worshipping the one above you and looking down and spitting upon the one below you. You're either going to be the controller on that side, or on the religion aspect that is present in the right brain and binds any of the left brain from making any progress. It just creates a blind, accepting group thinker of, I believe what my group says. As long as I go to church once a week, I'm a good boy. As long as I read my book, or maybe not even do that, I just believe in the book. It causes an submissive order follower, a bootlicker, in other terms. Either way, you still support the systems of control. Either way, you're still being manipulated, and you're being controlled. You're not free, because the truth lies in between. You're either going to be the controller, the dominative, or the submissive, the controller or the controlled. Well, either way, you are controlled anyway, but either way, suffering is going to follow and come about from that. So those are the two huge overarching dialectics that exist, and they reflect in the brain hemispheres, just like, other than those, the huge, huge dialectic that literally binds us all and prevents any of us from understanding the real controllers of this planet and the ones that really are the puppet masters of all of this. And it's not some conspiratorial Illuminati pipe dream. It is literally studyable. It is easily analysable, and it's so blatant when you just understand the factors of it and how many examples and how rampant it is and how clear cut and perfectly psychologically sound this idea is. There is the left and there is the right. And as I said earlier, this reflects in many people's views. Like, you'll have the left people that's amplified now, especially in America. You have the leftists, they're often, communistic, transgender, homosexual, all these things, which, by the way, I couldn't care less how you identify it as a frog for all I care. As long as you don't harm anyone else or impose it upon anyone else, go ham. But it's too predictable and too clear cut that people fall into these exact traps and exact ways of living and labels on both sides, and it's just more and more widening now. It's perfectly orchestrated, and it's obvious. It's obvious when you figure it out, and it's as soon as another event happens, you can just immediately realise what's going on. And it's as a young person, I have to just put my head in my hands sometimes and just realise, just think to myself, where are we, humanity, societally? Like, really? We're still dealing with left-right nonsense, even though every 4 years, every single time we have an election or a new vote, it's just another puppet, dirtbag. It's just some crook, just some other completely funded, corrupt joker. Every single time. Some maybe less than more, some maybe make different promises, but they all promise change and they all promise improvement and getting those darn bad guys to get away. They never bring any solutions. Little to no solutions. Look at all of those promises that Trump made. People forget that he had a first office and they just wanted to ignore all of that and then just vote him in again. He made all these promises about Epstein and all these people, and what did he do? At best, he covers them up. There's certain people that are more corrupted and more, in the know than others, but either way, any political solution, you're going down a bad track, especially with this dialectic. The left, of course, the governmental parties, the left, liberal, Democrat, we have often communists, we have the Labour, the Democrats. It is Big Mummy. It is the provider. It is the one who wants to give everyone free handouts and, look after the schools and the healthcare system. And all these things, they trickle down more into it. They want to care for about equality and fight fake social justice. They want to go for these things. They're more progressive. Even though nowadays it's gone so wide that they're just crazy. A lot of them, just pure crazy. The right isn't safe either. But all these things trickle down, and like I say, it is the Big Mummy. It's those with the motherly parental abandonment. They are often going to go down this side. And then opposingly, we have the right. There's the whole far right now, which is, don't even get me started. We have the right, of course, Republicans, the conservative, they're a bit more looking into the past of it used to be great, now we're going to make it great again. Where have we heard that before? How great is it? How great was it before? Not very. They often come about to be fascist. They often, want to tread on the opposing sides. The right, they hate the lefties at the moment. Anything that goes wrong in society, they immediately go, yeah, it's the Democrats, blame those. They're both nonsense. We have the right now that are just, they often love Israel. You have the people on the left that often love Palestine. Neither of them are good guys. Obviously, with that example, there's clearly a genocide, but the truth is more complicated than that. None of them are good guys at the end of the day. And either way, innocent people don't deserve to die, but that's a whole different discussion. Either way, you see all these people on the right, they check off every single viewpoint that they have just because they're on the right, and then on the left, accordingly, they check off all the same ones as well. And when you understand this and take a step back, you can just analyse both sides, and you just have to just take a moment to realise it's so clear cut of what side they're on. They are going to almost guaranteed take on some of these viewpoints because of their political stance. And again, left or right, they are both wings on the bird of prey. No matter what side you take, no matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. It's two wings on the same nut. Okay? And the political system in the UK is a little different to the American, because American is just so clear cut, and obviously they have a president instead of parliament. So here it's a bit more muddy, and they like to make out that it's a bit more nuanced, but it's all the same. At the end of the day, they boil down to the same thing, the same ends, I should say, and that's why it's so important to understand, because the eventual end that the real world controllers, all they care about is as much control as possible, centralised control over the mass of people. And both of these sides of the political spectrum, in America or in Britain, they're just different means to the same end. On the left, when you go real far extreme left, you'll have the communist folk. And then on the far extreme right, you have the fascist people. The only difference is that this, on the left, is the collectivist. It's the belief of the group, and, it's for the greater good. And on the other side, it's more emphasis on the individual. Either way, the fascist and the communist ideal is centralised control. All means of production and products of people's labour is ultimately owned and controlled by the state. That's all that matters in the end of the day to these people, because it doesn't matter if it goes left or right. That's why they'll throw any political saviour that people want in. It's just a different face to get them to the same end, because either way, if it's on the far left or far right, at the end of the day, mass control, mass surveillance, one world government, overarching control, maximum control by the state. That is the eventuality with both of these sides, and none of them bring about solution. All it is more control and less freedom. So if you want to get a true political spectrum, there are a few that I could show you, but for this brief case, if you wanted to still take a left versus right perspective, you have on the very, very far left, you have the communist, the fascist, the socialist, the Marxist, different means to the same end, different packaging, the overarching consequence of mass control, centralised control, and minimal power and freedom to the people. Then as you slowly get more in, you have the Republicans and the Democrats, two different opposing sides, just another dialectic. It's a false choice, a illusion of choice between the two. They're the presented choices to you. Still less freedom, because you are voting for a master to rule over you still. But then if you get further in, you get to the centrist, which is much better of the two, because you realise, again, the truth lies somewhere in the middle. But then you go even further along, you start going into the more libertarian, where you believe that minimal government, as less government as possible, and maximum freedom to the people is ideal. That's pitching a tent up the mountain. You're getting there and you're making the hike. It's much better than the rest of them. But you will eventually come to see, when you really progress, especially as this aligns with consciousness, consciousness must follow, and morality must follow as well, otherwise it will just be chaos. You eventually will come across the right part of the spectrum, the correct as in right, not the, right. You'll come across anarchy, not chaos, not no rulers. It's simply no masters. Rules must exist. That's why I say morality and consciousness must apply here, and that's why I speak of natural law, and that's why morality matters. Anarchy is the only true eventual solution to this, of realising most freedom must be with the people, minimal, if any, power of a governmental authoritative body. Of course, in this place, if there were to be anarchy or voluntarist society, for better words, there would still have to be systems. There would still have to be, groups and ways of people getting things done. It's not just every man fend for themselves. But the point is, as long as there is no overarching system of control that is forced by coercion, violence, and force, then you are truly free. Only when you don't have that coercive state that exists. And with anything on the left, on both the left and right, there is a state that is controlling you. That's why either way, they're the same wings on the same bird. Different wings even on the same bird of prey. Because it will eat you and devour you, and it doesn't care. It sees you as a little bug on the floor that it will pounce on if it needs to. And it will, eventually. It's just trying to sell you the right means to allow you to get pounced on without you even realising. So, To summarise, politics is an illusion of choice. Left versus right politics will never solve our problems, individually or societally. It only creates more, or puts a plug in one, and then as you plug that one hole, 5 more appear, and then they'll offer a solution to that, and it goes off and off and off and off until they can eventually put in that one plug that fills one little hole, and that plug is the different methodologies of mass control. We're going to cause immigration, get everyone riled up about it, and then we bring in our lovely solution of the digital ID, even though that won't fix the problem anyway. This is how they work, and politics is no different. It's just another false choice. It's just you being on the string of the puppet master. And so as we saw through COVID, our rulers will happily break the rules. They'll have their parties and they'll break all the rules, and there's the occasional scandal that people going up in arms for a couple of days. They don't care about the rules. It's the rules for us, not for them. They don't care. And they're happy to break them because ultimately, especially as you go higher and higher, they realise it's all nonsense as well. Or at the very least, it's for us, not for them. That's why the little people get taxed so much, and the richer people, they find their ways out. You know, they've got some different company in Dubai that allows them to be tax-free. They know the rules, and they realise that it's for us, not them. Most people will choose a side. Either they're born into it, or they just fall into a different thing because it aligns more so one side than the other. Or maybe at the very most, they'll support some niche party like the Green Party or the Libertarians, or some different ideology, or some, pie in the sky. Or if we had Marxism, and if we really did communism correctly, then maybe that would work. Again, they've all been infiltrated. It's just another tent up the mountain. We need to get rid of all of that and rid ourselves of these false choices and realise there is only one solution. No government, or at least no coercive state control. And none of these political sides ever will offer that. No true freedom fighter that really wants maximum freedom for the people. They may say they want that, but anyone that really supports that will never even see the doors of Parliament, see the light of day in that building, or if they make any progress, dead under suspicious circumstances. That is exactly how it goes. Again, no matter who you vote for, the government always gets in. You're simply voting and giving consent to a control party. South Park put it best: no matter who you vote for, it's always a choice between a giant douche, and a turd sandwich. Both of them are stupid and almost laughable. Make a choice, because one's got to be better than the other. It's only going to be one of those that get in anyway, so you might as well just vote for one of them. There's no point not voting at all, or realising it's all a scam. It's always going to be two puppets, orchestrated, perfectly controlled and corrupted in their own lovely way, fighting against each other, just like wrestling. It's a false conflict. Get everyone riled up and fighting, and cheering for their master. Both of them bring about a different selling point to the same end. To summarise here, the Hegelian dialectic is a solution or a compromise being offered to solve a division within the people that's also almost always orchestrated itself. The solution is planned all along, and the problem is planned all along as well. And with things like the mainstream media, the reaction is also orchestrated and curated as well. Every angle of every problem and social issue is infiltrated in some regard, all to get people divided and riled up and never seeing the forest for the trees. And at every opportunity and every important topic, this method of divide and conquer is applied. They build two main sides for people to cling on to because they believe a little more on one side than the other. As long as they never go within and go to the centre of that, it's different selling points to the same end once again. Both sides, however, will never be correct, and they will result in the same outcome, just with a different selling point. So you're always offered a choice. Both options will bring the same result. That result is the agenda of the manipulators. Do you want the blue pill or the blue pill? And so finally, This could be put differently, and there are many, many examples. I just want to emphasize the schisms, the most played upon parts of all of us and all of society that are used to keep us divided, to keep us separated, and keep us distracted from any real change, any self-improvement, any true knowledge and sovereignty and progress. These are the 9 battlegrounds, the ultimate major schisms that keep us all in a cage. They all come together, they all interlink, and you can bet they've all been corrupted and used to control you. First of all, of course, as I just mentioned, I'll go over it briefly, politics. The major schism. Are you left? Are you right? Are you a bit of either? Either way, pick your side. Never realise the solution lies from none of them. They have their trickles of truth, and that's why people, will latch onto either one of them, because there's some parts of truth, but the rest is junk, and either way, it's led by a political puppet. You have politics, of course, the huge, huge schism, and that will go on forever. It's almost ancient of how it's been used. It's not emperor or king anymore. You have the choice. You're able to elect who you want in parliament. So I have my say in who represents me in government, don't you know? It's an illusion. Whether or not your votes actually count, different story. It's a scam. Gender. This divide is rampant nowadays. You have absolute men hating on the neo-feminists, and then you have you have all MGTOW and all these men groups that are just saying there's no point getting with women. They're all just whores and just stay away from them. They're just succubuses. There's other parts of each side of the schism. For as long as we forget and don't realise, men and women, it's just another meat suit. It's just another expression of, yes, who we are, but it's just different body parts. Who cares? Yeah, men and women have different characteristics, and we have different roles, and we are equal in our rights, but not in our ability. That should be utilised. That should be understood. And it is that way for a reason. There's a reason why women can do something that men can't, and vice versa. Because they are meant to complement each other. They're not meant to be all equal in what they are. It's their rights. We all have the same rights. There shouldn't be a pay gap. All of this childish stuff. Instead, all it is just people divided. Like I say, men hating currently now, where they just absolutely just despise them and want some pansy. And the absolute war on testosterone. And then you have all of the men, again, being made into little wimps and pussies. Need to put aside our differences and realise we are here to utilise and be, look at plumbing. You have the male connection, you have the female. They are meant to join together and create that perfect connection that allows the water to flow through, instead of the male side and the female side going, I hate you, we're different, we should be the same. Yeah, we're the same now, that makes sense. No. Even just on its face value. There are differences for a reason, and if you want to identify something in between or something different, go for it. Don't impose it on the children, and don't impose it upon anyone else. It's a different story. The point is, unity, in this especially, is necessary. Sport. What can I say? Great Britain, land of the football. America has American football, which is just as bad, and basketball and other sports as well. But if you've ever watched a movie like Green Street or I can't remember the rest of them, but like football hooligans, they're not as common nowadays, thank God. But it's just pure tribal warfare. It's I won't get into name calling, because enjoy how much sports you want. Like it's entertainment at the end of the day. Enjoy it for that. Don't have to just shun it out of your life. But you'd be kidding yourself if you didn't say that it was childish. The complete self-value and identity that people take on as their football teams. I mean, even alone, people talking about the we. We won last night. You didn't do anything. Did you take steps onto that pitch and kick the ball into the net? No. All you did was put on your blue or red t-shirt, sit there on your sofa, eating your Doritos, and watching on your big black box millionaires kicking a sack of air around into a net And then if one of them falls on the ground too hard and plays around a bit and says, "Oh, my leg, oh." Well, meanwhile, by the second, they're making 100 times more than you are. And something goes wrong, you're jumping up in the air, you're screaming, you're throwing your beer, you're punching the person opposite you that's wearing a different colour to you. It's just another form of tribal gang warfare. The Reds versus the Blues. Where else do we see that? In one of the other divisions. It's almost like it's perfectly orchestrated that way, because the ones that are running the show and laughing at you doing all of this, they know the red and blue energies correspond with the parts of our brains and the parts of ourselves, and it's always going to be those two. You fight. That's why you have red, blue, and maybe the green in the centre. Either way, you're fighting. You hate the opposing team. All you do and care for is watching football and waiting for the next game. Again, enjoy it however you like, but if you think that is your life essence and your identity, and that's all you think about day in, day out, unless you're the football player, you're no comment. That's what I'll say. But it's way too rampant now, and you will hardly find a stadium that isn't packed out full of these children. Major world events, whatever it is, vaccinations, the new virus that comes out, the new world, assassination or the world event. People take their sides and they often correspond with their political views. Again, the media plays into this heavily. It's just more division. It's just more fighting of each other. When often the truth lies in the middle, or even something other than that, because all of the ways that the media, mainstream media, spin stories, if you haven't realised in 2025 that the mainstream media are liars, and that's putting it nicely. And most of them are paedophiles also, but that's a different story. Just more division. Whatever chance these people get, they will use it to their best of their ability to divide us and play in with the rest of them. Religion. Probably the most ancient of all divisions. Again, believe what you want to believe. Go to whatever holy building you want or whatever book. Unless we can either put our differences aside of our different religions and just realise, hey, they're just on a different path and they just see the expression of God in a different way. It's just different packaging to the same end. As I said earlier, extract all of the truths from as many religions as you can, and the truth will lie in the concrescence of that, and you'll eventually realise the only true religion is truth itself. But ultimately, we have to either put down all of our differences between these religions, or in some idealistic state, maybe people would realise, wait a minute, this stupid belief system that I've been indoctrinated into believing because I was just born in a different place on this planet and I had a different family, maybe this belief system is pretty corrupt and it's only halfway there, and there's a lot of truth, but then there's a lot of man-made junk and contradictions and weird history of the past of our prophets and our weird rituals that we do. It's going to have to be one of those, but until then, it's just more division. And we're seeing this go rampant in the day and age with the Islam versus Judaism. And again, there are evil people that lie at the very top of these control system religions, in the Vatican, in the Islamic State, in the Israeli state. Those are the real evil people, and the children of this earth, that they call them adults, want to think that because those people are evil, then the average Jew or the average Muslim person that you see on the street is going to be part of that. They're just some average person that is just believing a belief system that they've been raised into believing. They aren't. When you talk of the Zionists, people were going to look at the average Jew on the street and start shouting, swearing at them. They have nothing to do with it. They may represent the same thing, but they are not that. There's a difference between the state and the ones at the below. They're just following it. Whole different episode of itself, but whatever means necessary, all it serves at the very, very tippy top is more division. Diet and lifestyle, it speaks for itself. So many opposing diets now and so many different lifestyle choices, and if one person does something one way, and of course there may be a truth to the matter of what's really healthy and what's not, but either way, someone might like one food, someone might not and think it's unhealthy. they're going to be divided about it, and it can be minimal or it can escalate real bad of when people are just, you have the carnists and the vegans going at each other. No matter what, you combine things like this with all the other ones mentioned, it's cake. It's clockwork to control the masses. Sexuality, I mean, if this image alone doesn't just represent how I feel about this whole issue, I don't know what will. It's facepalm territory because, again, identify and love whoever you like, as long as it's not children, as long as it doesn't infringe upon anyone, as long as it's consensual and it harms none. Go crazy. Enjoy. But instead, and this is somewhat getting a little less serious as it once was, because everyone's starting to realise, a gay person's just another person. Who'd have thought? They're not some crazy weirdo. But for as long as people see someone else, just another expression of consciousness, and then look at them and say, because they like a different gender than me, they're evil, they're horrible, I'm going to discriminate and hate them and see them as a whole different entity. Children are more mature than that. Anyway, just another division, and it trickles down with all of the other ones. Race, I mean, need I say more? The colour of your skin, the colour of your meat suit, the colour, the fact that you were born maybe on a different place on the planet or by a different lineage, that has no bearing on basically anything. There are certain patterns of maybe how certain people may act, and we should recognise that, because that's obviously the environment that people are raised. If a certain race is more likely to be raised in an environment of that sort of culture, maybe that plays in. But it's not just inherently, because someone's black, they're a criminal, or because someone's this, they're a that. No, it's always more complicated than that. And at the end of the day, it's a different colour of a body, an expression of the same thing within. And yet people want to think that this colour means anything. I could paint my face blue, it doesn't matter. And people still want to get caught up on that again in the year 2025. It's shameful, but it's still being used insanely. And finally, we have wealth. The biggest, overarching, omnipresent division that surrounds all of this, even beyond politics. Are you lower class? Are you middle class? Are you upper? Are you billionaire? Are you somewhere in between? And hey, they're trying to change this so that there is just they're trying to create the have-yachts and the have-nots. That is true, but for as long as people have different financial statuses, and no, communism isn't the solution, people are always going to look at each other differently if they have a different amount of money. Who cares how many zeros you have in your bank account, or what fancy car you have, or lovely house you have? They may reflect on who you are, because money is an amplifier of who you were before. It doesn't matter. It's just a different amount of resources that someone else has. If someone has a bucket full of 500 cupcakes and someone else has a bucket that's empty, are they any different? No. Are they going to divide and fight each other about it because of it? Chances are, yeah. It's just a different amount of resources. But, and here we go, the solution of all of this. And this isn't just some hippie pie in the sky, yeah, man, we got to come together and just love each other, man. Even though it's been built into a cliche, because that's kind of true. The solution is very simple. What if there's another way? If it isn't left or right. If it isn't up or down, hot or cold. What if the choice is up, in and up, towards knowledge? What if I was to say, the solution of all of this is individual sovereignty, self-ownership, unity between us all, putting down, at least putting down, or putting aside our differences, and at the best, removing our differences, because we are all the same on the inside. Put that aside, mental freedom within, both through knowledge and self-respect, and then unity without uniformity. To be equal and to fair and right. It doesn't need to be some communist state where everyone's provided for in the same way and everyone has the same amount of resources. All it requires is people being on the same wavelength in terms of who they are and who they are not, and respect themselves and respect someone else. Know yourself and do no harm to any other person. It's that simple. It's not easy. Boy, it's not easy. And I don't even know if we're going to see this potential unfold in our lives. It's going to be a either or of total freedom or total enslavement in these next few years. But if you want a practical step of this, first you must question every choice that you're offered, both in every new event that unfolds, but also take a look in the mirror and think, where do I stand politically? Where do I stand in beliefs of different sexualities and different religions? What's my religion? Who benefits from me believing this or from the division of certain things in the way? And try and analyse both sides and realise, is there a possibility of the solution lying in the middle? And is it just another opportunity to distract and divide the people? Who benefits from it? What are they distracting me from? If you see some big news event that's out and getting mentioned for a week long, that's just being bombarded with what happened, ask yourself, what are they trying to, cover up and hide from us? Next, once you've sort of questioned and rationalised this, find a common ground with your enemies. Have compassion and respect for your fellow man. The law of one. Understand, as one suffers, all suffer. We are all connected. And as much as people are divided, I know you can't just let someone keep slapping you in the face and not realise there's a time to turn away and walk away or hit back. You find a common ground. Empathise with them. Realise we're all coming from different backgrounds and perspectives. That doesn't make us different. Someone might be a bit more aggressive because of it, but case by case. Either way, find the common ground. You might just want safety and comfort. They might want the same. You might have slight different packaging on each of them, but the underlying need is the same. Everyone wants prosperity at the end of the day. You want freedom. The problem is we're often sold all of these lies of change and freedom and prosperity. We're given that selling point, and then that never comes about as the result. And finally, be the controller of your own mind. Before you can respect and love and have compassion for other people and unite with them, be internally united. It's a process, but start thinking for yourself. Start researching for yourself. Start being a bit more hesitant to just immediately jump ship on the new problem, start taking sides. Wait for more evidence to come out. Decide for yourself and always have this idea of how teachable am I? Where did this idea come from? And is it right? Really start thinking for yourself, because this, other than unity, is what the controllers of this world do not want. They do not want us to be united and thinking for ourselves. Because if we are self-respecting, sovereign, and loving of our fellow man as much as we can be, there is no more need for an overarching coercive governmental state. We can get over that. It comes with consciousness, and it's not easy, and it's not some big cliche ideal that can't ever be achieved. Personal freedom, self-respect, know thyself, and then as you move further along that, you're more capable of expressing it to others, and then we can only hope for that accumulating, because that is the only way out here. And this is the real revolution, not protests and petitions and trying to beg Master to whip us 5 times a day instead of 5 times a week instead of 7. The real revolution isn't left or right. It's conscious versus unconscious, awake versus asleep, free minds versus controlled minds. And you get to choose. That's all it is. It's a choice away. It's knowledge. It's courage. It's self-respect. And it's so lacking in this current age. But if we revive this, if we have a revival of knowledge and respect and care and compassion and all these beautiful things that are common sense but just buried away and beaten out of us. I couldn't even put into words what this world could become if we really, really embodied our true internal power and sovereignty and self-governance and put aside the junk. It would warm you up on a cold day, the idea, the belief and the comprehension and visualization of a world in such harmony. Are we going to see that unfold? It's up to you. It's up to everyone. Work within, fix yourself to the best of your ability and be conscious of these divisions and help your fellow man do the same to the best of your ability. That's all you can do. You can do great things. You have more power than they want you to know. You're not destined to be on this planet to be an expression of such beautiful divine consciousness with health and wealth every day. You're not here to just be that all of that beauty and potential, just to say, I'm a Democrat, trans, this. It's another trap and a box to put you in. Because as soon as they have you in that box, your hands are like this. You cannot free yourself. And until you free this and help everyone else do the same, unstoppable powers will be in your hands. You can do great things. If we are united, we are unstoppable. Divided, we are controllable. The choice has always been yours. And I'll urge you now to go and look out into the world and all the different stories and things that are going on and see for yourself. So now you know, the question is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you go back to sleep, keep arguing with your neighbours and those people on Instagram while your rulers are laughing at you? Or will you wake up, break free, help others see what is true and what is right? The matrix is glitching and more people are waking up every single day. Share this to as many people as you can before they try to stop you, because the choice is yours. This is just the beginning. Next week, I'm going to show you who is really pulling the strings. The names, the faces, the network, the controllers will be revealed. And if this has opened your eyes, even the tiniest little bit, hit that subscribe button, like, share it, comment. If this gave you hope and has helped you in any way, comment to let me know about it. And together, we can break the matrix. You have incredible power. This has been Morality Matters. Remember, there is only one rule: no masters, no slaves, do no harm. I'll see you next time.